Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. To be precise, we have reached episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I absolutely love that number because when you write 131 forwards and backwards, it's the exact same number. How amazing is that? My name is John Masiulionis, the manager here at Empowered Publicity and the host of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Thank you so much for spending some time with us wherever you are and wherever you may be. We're really excited to close out our month of October, as very shortly the holiday season will be upon us. And let's be honest, with the holiday season finally here almost, raise your hand if you've ever asked yourself or told yourself, I'm running out of time. Raise your hand if you have a very interesting relationship with time. I think we're seeing many hands, needless to say. Time can be a very challenging thing. A lot of times we don't think that we have enough time to do what it is that we need to do, especially if we are taking care of different commitments and responsibilities, including children, right? But it's really interesting because kids have a very unique relationship with time. They're not really worried about what's happening off in the yonder distance. Their biggest worry or concern might be, Mom, Dad, what are we having for dinner? But what if, hypothetically speaking, what if you can actually create a healthier relationship with time? What if you can actually expand time, right? We're going to try to do like a little Doc Emmett L. Brown Back to the Future, Albert Einstein mixed with Kid Lit, mixed with superheroes, this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. It always helps when you want to be able to change something, especially, let's say, creating a more healthy relationship with something, that you have a plan. So get this, on this week's edition of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, our newest neighbor who's spending some time with us here in our neighborhood is going to help all of us and our little ones create a plan to manage your time and do it in a superhero-like way. We encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars, to head on over to Amazon.com and purchase your copy of Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time. And that is penned by our featured guest here on episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, which, by the way, if you are on Amazon, one of the many ways that you can support Curtis Andrews, our featured guest here this week on the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series, is by leaving a 5-star review if you feel guided to do so as well. So the trolley heads on over from San Diego all the way, not fully across the country, but near our nation's capital in Virginia. Joining us as our featured guest is the author of the brand new children's book, Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time, Curtis Andrews. Curtis, thank you so much for spending some free time with us here in our neighborhood this week. Thank you for joining us here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and we're going to be diving into the pages of your book momentarily. Indeed, if you are saying, Curtis and John, I am really looking forward to this Children's Book Spotlight Series episode because I'm looking to create a healthier relationship with my time. I would love for time to be able to expand because, John, Curtis, especially if you have a little one or two or multiple ones, you really want to learn to be able to find a way to expand time in the process. So if this message is bringing up your spirits, if it's bringing more love and joy into your life, and if it's kind of taking off some stress off your plate, because we're talking about some pretty cool things thus far on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, we encourage you to subscribe to Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel and share this very special trolley stop that you are now enjoying. That is episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I got to say, Curtis, I really love your book. First of all, because just the way in which you share this message, not everyone really has the healthiest relationship with time. And in many respects, we sometimes don't have the highest and best relationship that we want with our own children or children that are in our lives, so to speak. We always like to start each Children's Book Spotlight Series. We kind of mentioned the whole Doc Emmett L. Brown Back to the Future thing. Let's kind of go back in the Wayback Machine if you could. What inspired you to become a children's author, and how did this vision of Captain Curriculum Safe Circle Time, how did it come to life?
Well, going back to my childhood years, I was always fascinated with just stories. I see everything in a story. It could be, of course, a book. It could be a movie. It could be a play. It could be a song. But I see everything in story. That's best I can describe it. So I'm also a early childhood educator. So I felt that in my 25 plus years of being an educator, I noticed that the resources that teachers need, they really don't have time to really go through them and actually look at them, because really their time is spent with the children.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, the teacher resource guides are kept out of the classroom. So it's basically on you to find the time when you can look at it, whether it be before school, your lunch break, or after work. And everyone knows that children love books. So my idea was to infuse the two together, a teacher resource guide in the form of a children's story, so both the teacher and the child can get the benefit from it. So then Captain Curriculum, originally Captain Curriculum's first name was Captain Child Care Provider. That started in about 2014. I was writing other material, just doing other creative stuff like I used to do. So I put it on the shelf for a couple of years. So then I was just going through my files, and one day I was like, oh, I forgot all about this. In 2017, I thought, maybe I should just bring this, I should dust it off and take it off the shelf and play around with it to see if, my thoughts had changed, or, if I was still in that same vibe. So I started writing it. And at the same time, I became more knowledgeable as an educator. And I was thinking Captain Curriculum sounds a whole lot better than Child Care Provider. And with that said, I was thinking that, okay, what's going to be the basis of the story? And I was like, some kind of way, Captain Curriculum needs to help teachers and children. So I started writing the story. And I don't know if you know, John, this is a belief that I have, that once I start writing and the characters start to come to life, it's not even me writing anymore. It's pretty much me just guiding the pen or typing in the keys. And I think the character tells me what's working and what's not. It's not even me anymore. It kind of takes on a life of its own. So I was thinking that if Captain Curriculum is going to be a superhero teacher, he needs a sidekick. So I thought, who could the sidekick be? I thought maybe it could be a lady. And at the same time, I know me and you talked about this before. You met my fiance, Charlene, which is also a child care, she's an early childhood educator. And I said, why not her? She's one of the most brilliant teachers I've ever met. And I was thinking that if Captain Curriculum gives the idea of what needs to be done in the classroom, Tracy transitions, who my fiance is actually, she's inspired that character. Why not have her implement the idea that Captain Curriculum has for the teachers and the students? So that's pretty much the genesis of how the story was birthed.
I love this, Chris, on many different levels, because, one, this is in no specific or particular order, but I've really had a huge belief for many years, and we share it here very oftentimes in the Children's Book Spotlight series, how children's books are more than just for kids. They're for parents, they're for grandparents, they're for educators as well, because they really are not only a resource, but they're also a lifeline as well. One of the things that we'll talk about in our trolley stop here together today is the fact how, over the past 19, now nearly 20 months, how educators have been stretched. And having a resource such as Captain Curriculum Safe Circle Time really is not only a resource, not only a lifeline, but in many respects, a lifesaver for that particular day or that particular week. I also really love the fact and how you're integrating your real life experience into this book. many authors can think, like, I have this $1 million idea, or I have to have at least this great idea, and it's, so that kids can resonate with it and whatnot. And I feel that, when we can integrate our real life experience, right, the relationships that we have, that what it is that we're sharing becomes more authentic, more heart-centered. It's just integrating in, the creativity with the real life experience, which is great. And I can just tell after meeting yourself and your fiance that you both genuinely care about kids. And that's not only very important in your specific line of work, but also in being a children's author. And this leads me into my next question is that at the end of the day, this really is about the kids. When all of these ideas were coming to mind, originally you had this idea, you kind of shelved it for a little bit, the vision is starting to come to life. What were some of the things early on that you wanted to be able to convey to children through the book? And walk us through the process, if you could, because, people who tune into the Children's Book Spotlight series, they can range from aspiring writers to first-time children's authors, all the way to award-winning and best-selling children's authors, and simply just those who love great children's books, in addition to parents and grandparents and educators. Walk us through then the process after getting these ideas, how you wanted to convey this message to kids. Walk us through the process of the creation of the book of Captain Curriculum Say Circle Time, if you could, with us.
Well, like you were saying, I wanted it to be relatable. I wanted to have an everyday occurrence in a classroom. Like in the book, when the kids are choosing their activities, in the morning, children don't arrive all at the same time. Of course, you have a designated time that class starts, but that doesn't necessarily mean that at 8 o'clock, all the kids are showing up. So you have kids trickling in 8:10, 8:15, 8:45, 9, and so on. So it doesn't matter what time of the day is, whatever time they actually show up, that's the start of their day. And on the flip side of that, you have a schedule that you have within the classroom. So some children may have more time to choose what they want to do. The other kids may not, depending on what time they come. So my idea was to show a little controlled chaos with, a lot of times in the classroom, it can be. So that was like the genesis of it. So I basically wanted, children doing a variety of different activities. And on another note is, I wanted the children to understand that it's not always their fault. When if something happens, it's not always their fault, because at the end of the day, the teacher is responsible for everything. It's almost like a coach of a sports team. You're responsible for the success as well as the failures and challenges in your class. And I really want teachers to know that they are at the core of everything to that child. Once that child arrives, okay, you are it. You don't take the place of that parent, but let's face it, you have more time with that child than their parents actually do throughout the day. So you have to be their counselor, you have to be their friend, you have to be their teacher, you have to be, their shoulder to cry on. You have to be so much to the child. And I really want teachers to really understand that you make the biggest impression, other than, their parents, you make the biggest impression in their lives. So that was pretty much how it all started. And it's been a journey, John. It really has. It really has.
I'm glad that you're touching upon this, Curtis, because we're all human. As I say, we're all human, yet we're all divine, right? And in our lives, everything really is, it's a learning process. I had picked up on an expression, probably close to 10 years ago, called, some people call it Earth School. Sometimes people think that after you graduate from college, like that's it, right? You get your diploma, your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your doctorate, you walk across the stage and that's that. Every day, life really is like a school. And we, as the results, right, we can also have our own fears and insecurities, right? We can also experience challenges, obstacles, problems, stressors, troubles, worries, you name it. Feel free to be a little vulnerable with us, if you could, Curtis. What were some of the challenges and obstacles that you felt that you experienced, looking back in hindsight, that you experienced in the creation, in the writing of this book? And what were some of the things that helped you to move through to the other side of those? And I ask this question because, there are many people who tune into the Children's Book Spotlight series over the course of the past 3 years. And, sometimes they're just looking for an inspirational word. Sometimes that they're looking for some support. And when they see someone move through something challenging, it provides them with more courage to be able to move through whatever temporary disturbance that they might be experiencing, maybe even if it's just as simple as, writing a book, which can be more complex than what we realize. So what were some of those challenges and difficulties, and what helped you to move through to the other side of those? If you could kind of share those with our listeners and viewers and our friends and neighbors, Curtis.
Okay, well, as far as the writing, I think in the beginning, I was pretty much writing the book for myself. In hindsight, I didn't know that at the time. So I was trying to put in all kinds of superhero lingo, things that I would like, things that I would want to read. So then I took my book to get critiqued at a business seminar. And I'm reading the book, and at the same time, I'm looking at people's faces. They enjoyed the book, but it was way too long. It took too much time to get to the point. And I hadn't experienced that before, the critiques. And it was an eye-opener. It was like, Curtis, you're good, but there's some work you need to do. You need to hone your craft. And these were some really truth sayers that I needed in my life to tell me that. And it was kind of hard because, at first I was in my flesh. I was believing like, no, you just don't understand. But they were like, no, you just don't understand. Of course, I'm writing the story. I'm writing what I like. But at the same time, I have to think about my consumer. I have to think about my fan base. I have to think about who my target audience is. And that really helped me a lot because, believe it or not, the story was 20 minutes. I didn't know. I was never tracking the time until the day I read it out loud to people. I did not. When I went to that business seminar, that's the first time I heard myself actually reading the story. Before, it was just all in my head, just reading the book to myself in my head. So once I got in front of those people, and it was an eye-opener for me. And I really needed that. So my advice is to hone your craft for a long time before you step out there. Really hone your craft. Really read, and then read some more in your genre, in other genres. What I love to do is, people might think this is weird, when I do watch movies or TV shows alone, I put the subtitles up. I like to see the words on the screen as the story unfolds. It might be a little crazy, but this is what I do. I really take the craft seriously. You really have to take it seriously. And you can't take it personal when people give you critique. You really can't.
I'm glad that you're sharing this, Curtis. I think this is very, it's very useful information that you're sharing, because, we all have our heart and we also have our ego, and our ego can get offended very easily, and we can take things to heart all the time. We can take things personally, and especially for those out there that are just starting to write. Maybe they're in the process of beginning their first book, or even if they've already penned several books in the process. It's so important to be able to hone your craft and to spend that necessary time and care and to call in that additional support. If there's something that you're needing, whether it be, an open heart, a compassionate ear, if you want to be able to have someone take a look at your work, to have that, that third party perspective, because at the end of the day, especially in the kid-led community, we all want to become the highest and best versions of ourselves in terms of our work, so that, it's able to reach those that it's meant to reach, and that we're able to, step even more into our gifts and our skills and our talents. It's really why we all came here in the process. Again, we appreciate all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood at Empowered Publicity and the Children's Book Spotlight Series. You are enjoying episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Our featured guest, Curtis Andrews, is joining us. We are about ready to dive into the pages of his brand new children's book, Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time. You can head on over to Amazon.com if that is your preferred online vehicle of choice, and purchase your copy of Curtis's brand new children's book. Indeed, if Amazon is your preferred vehicle of choice, you can also leave a 5-star review for Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time, as that is one of the many ways that you can support Curtis and remind him that he is doing wonderful work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love, comics, those who love superheroes, all of that, and then some in the process. Now's the point in time of the program, Curtis, where it's literally one of the most fun things it's really one of the most fun parts of my week whenever I actually record one of these Children's Book Spotlight Series episodes. I kind of get like the visual of, if you remember the show DuckTales, and you'd have Scrooge McDuck kind of, jumping into his vat of gold coins. For me, in a lot of respects, it's kind of like diving into the children's books. And this is when we're diving now into the pages of Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time. Without necessarily giving away the whole kit and caboodle, could you share with our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and our shining stars a little bit about Captain Curriculum? He doesn't travel alone, as you had mentioned in the process, and it's a very interesting story because there's this teacher who really cares about her kids, Ms. Weeble, and she's experiencing some frustration. You literally see steam and anger coming from her in the process, but it does have a happy ending. If you'd be kind of be able to share with us a little bit more about Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time, if you could.
Okay, well, like you said before, Miss Weeble, she is very passionate about her kids, but she's very to the law about how she runs her classroom, meaning that she is living by the schedule. She wants everything to happen on the dot that's recorded, with the schedule. So in doing so, the children don't necessarily agree with that decision. Some are a little angry that they have to stop what they're doing. Some are crying that they just arrived, in the morning. But she tries to plead her case, saying that if we don't stick to the schedule, the rest of the day will be off. So Captain Curriculum's job is to show teachers as well as students how to manage a classroom. He's a classroom manager. That's what he does. So in doing so, he explains to her that you have to be a little flexible. And at the same time, you also have to have a way to move from one activity to the next smoothly. John, in my experience, if you were to narrow it down to one thing that can make or break a childhood educator, is how you transition from one activity to the next. Smooth transitions. And the thing about having a transition is, once the kids know what it is, once they know what to expect, the day runs so much smoother. If you just tell the children okay, it's time to clean up, it's 9 o'clock, what do you think they're gonna do? Do you think they're gonna patiently take all their materials back to where they came from? No, it's gonna be a rat race. Everyone's gonna be scattering. It's gonna be like rush hour. only because that's what you told them to do. Now, if you have a transition, let's just say you have a transition as easy as clean up, everybody do their share, clean up, everyone, everywhere. And if they learn that, then they're singing and they're in tune to what's going on, and everyone is slowing their pace down. That one single transition leading into the next activity will make the biggest difference. Really, John, you have to have transitions, really. Even before you even start the cleanup song, if that's what you prefer, you have to give them a heads up. In 1 minute, we're going to do this. In 2 minutes, and of course, kids, depending on the age, they don't always understand the concept of time, but there's ways around that. You can say, when I dim the lights, that means 1 minute. It's all kinds of ways. It's a lot of creative ways that you can get the kids on board to what you're doing. And they love those kind of things. They do. They see it as a game, but you see it as efficiently flowing from one activity to next to make your day a whole lot smoother and successful for everyone that's in there.
And Captain Curriculum and Tracy Transitions play a perfect team. I feel that it's very relatable as well. You mentioned this earlier on when you were sharing the fact that, obviously in classrooms there's little boys and little girls, and sometimes, you've got well, a lot of times you've got Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, the Flash, Aquaman, you've got all these, and then you've got like Wonder Woman, and that's like pretty much about it. So I give you credit as well for kind of integrating that, someone that little girls can look up to as well. So you've got Tracy Transitions and Captain Curriculum, and I just really love how the story unfolds, right? How, even though Ms. Weeble is experiencing her challenges and her difficulties and her obstacles and problems and stressors and troubles of the day, that, literally time stops. Time suspends, it pauses. And this kind of leads me into my next question. It can be very challenging. Maybe one of the most challenging things that we can experience as an adult, especially if we are the caregiver of a little one, if we're a parent or a grandparent of a little one, and if something necessarily isn't going our way, or if we can kind of get stuck into this ball of anxiety and wonder, like, we've got this very long to-do list, how are things going to get done? Talk to us about giving that pause, that healthy pause, and really why that's essential, whether you are a single adult, whether you are a parent, whether you're a teacher, the importance of that pause so that you can take the time and connect. Some people call it your higher self, some people call it your intuition. If anything, just to take that breath, to say that everything is going to be okay and that we can get back on track. Talk to us about why that pause is so essential right now.
Well, John, that pause is essential because it refocuses you. I think I was told early on that don't make important decisions if you're upset or angry or something like that, because you're letting your emotions dictate your decision making. And once you head down that road, you're pretty much, it's a done deal pretty much. And then you have to maybe apologize, or you do something that you feel may be out of character. But taking that pause, just a moment, just to refocus, just to rethink, okay, there's always a solution to a problem. Now, it may not come fully to you in that moment, but just having that pause can let you know that there's another way out of this. Let me think this. Because at the same time, and what I love about early childhood education is, of course, we want the kids to develop in math, science, all the basic areas. But what's really important is that social emotional piece. That's what drives everything. And when I'm encountering people and they're probably not making the best decision that they have, that they can. I noticed that maybe that social, I'm saying if it's habitual, let's just say people that I encounter all the time, I'm noticing maybe that social emotional piece, that development that they needed while they were young, probably did not take place, or it was not implemented correctly. Because if you're always flying off the handle, which I used to a lot, there's definitely some work that you need to do. Like I said, you really have to be in tune to yourself. You have to be able to problem solve. You have to be able to have a clear head, especially in the classroom or just, in any profession, because you always have eyes on you, especially if you're a leader. It's unfortunate that as a leader, the standard is set so high that you might not always be able to live up to that. But that's just the law of leadership. Everything is your fault. So definitely taking that pause, reassessing, and looking into yourself or whatever it is that you do to find inspiration or creative ideas. That's the route you should take. For me, I look for within what God has in me. I know that I'm a problem solver. He created me to be that. So I'm leaning on him, not just when I'm emotional, but all the time to help me problem solve. Because you have to problem solve all day long, because you have things thrown at you all day long, unexpectedly, even expectedly. You just have to always be on guard, because you never know how you're going to have to use that problem solving skills and take that pause to get you through the next challenge.
Well, and I thank you for sharing all of that. What you shared is so true, Curtis, on many levels, and especially when it comes to, taking that. It's very easy to just get sucked into that frustration, sucked into that anxiety, and just like I know that I'm doing this in my life even more. That if there's something that happens to come up, like, you're capable of moving through it. And you don't have to necessarily create any other additional stress or unnecessary anxiety in the process. Just be able to take that simple pause can create so much openness and clarity and ease and grace, which is wonderful. And I'm also glad that you talked about taking that pause, because, teachers especially kind of navigating into, what is what I'm classifying as the post-pandemic world. Even though we're still in the technicalities of the pandemic, we're doing our part to create our post-pandemic world. And one of the things that you talk about in the back of your book, the purpose in writing Captain Curriculum Safe Circle Time, you shared, is for teachers to realize that classroom management is vital to the success of their students, to the children's success, as well as their own, especially now with, most kids throughout the country being back in the physical buildings of schools. How is classroom management even more vital now to the success of students and our children, really, than ever before?
Well, because during the pandemic, we had to learn how to manage a classroom that we were not necessarily in with the children. So that was in and of itself a learning curve for everyone, because no one's really ever done that consistently. So now that the schools have reopened, at least I think majority of schools have reopened, now you have to get them back in the mindset of, okay, now we're all in a physical classroom together. You might have to, some of the children might have forgotten what it was like to be in a classroom, because let's face it, at home, really, they have, I would say, a little bit more control of their environment, being that the teacher is, virtual. So basically, if they didn't have a caregiver there with them, it can get a little challenging for the students. I know for me, when I was doing it, I'm glad I had a co-teacher. We were doing like 2.5 to 3 year olds virtual classrooms. And just imagine that, John, a kid that's probably doesn't, use a device other than to watch a movie. They have to sit in front of a screen and listen to a teacher. Just really let that sink in. So on my end and my co-teachers in, we had to be very creative. You had to really help the parents become classroom managers in their own homes if they weren't before. I can tell you, John, so many parents, they were telling us, how do you do it? How in the world do you do this all day long? I was like, well, you definitely have a gift, and we definitely are passionate about it. So definitely classroom management is more essential now, being that you as a teacher, you have to really think about your students. You have to really know them. And the only way to really know your students is to have that personal relationship with them. And alongside that, I believe that children, when you're coming up with classroom, I don't like to say rules, I like to say agreements, because the children should play a part in that decision making. What do you think an agreement for our classroom should be? I think anyone that is included in the decision making, they're more likely to live up to the decisions and ideas that they implement.
I really love the phrase classroom agreements, because sometimes rules, right? There's that inner rebel in us, and it's like, rules, I kind of got, again, this Back to the Future reference where, Doc Emmett Brown says, roads where we're going, we don't need roads. And I think some people think that way about rules, well, we don't need no rules, right? But I like the term agreements, because it's something that's really a conscious co-creation of the teacher, the students, the parents, etc. and so forth. We're beginning to wind down our time here on episode number 131 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. We appreciate you spending some free time with us here in our neighborhood here at Empowered Publicity. Joining us again, our featured guest here this week on episode number 131 of the program is Curtis Andrews, the author of the brand new release, Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time. We encourage you, if you haven't had the opportunities to do so yet, to head on over to Amazon.com. That is your preferred online vehicle of choice. While they're in purchasing your copy of Curtis's brand new children's book, you can leave a 5-star review on Amazon. That is one of the many ways that you can share and pledge your support for Curtis and help to remind him that he is doing wonderful work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books in the process. We always love here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Curtis, to be able to share some supportive tools, things that parents, caregivers, educators, children's authors, all of us as human beings can just take and extract and implement right into our daily lives. We talked about the theme, one of the resonating themes of our trolley stop here this week, creating a plan to manage your time. And one of the best ways to go about doing that is a schedule. Now, I say this and I have this big smile on my face because I'm just now, at the age of 40, really seeing the importance of having a schedule that is in place. Simply put, especially right now with where we're at, looking at the new year almost ahead of us, the importance of schedules. Talk to us about the importance of schedules for not only adults, right? Especially if you own your own business, especially the importance of schedules for children. Talk to us about the importance of both of those and really how schedules are the plan or one of the plans to help you really manage your time.
Yeah, it definitely is. I totally agree with that, because a schedule keeps you accountable. That's one aspect of it. If you have a schedule, if you know you have certain obligations to meet, that schedule is vital to you successfully moving from one thing to the next. And I think that it's part of organization. It's part of life, that to keep you on track, to keep you accountable, to keep you organized, you definitely need a schedule. Now, you might not be the best manager of time, But there are certain things you can do to help you out, namely having a schedule and sticking to it. Not to say that your schedule can't be a little flexible depending on the situation, but you definitely have to be, you definitely have to have a schedule. But like I said before in the beginning, John, I don't think a schedule necessarily has to be law, because at the same time, there can be flexibility with that schedule, but without a schedule, I don't see how a person manages their life, really. I don't see how you can actually navigate your life without having some sort of schedule. I know that sometimes I've been on a schedule of waking up at the same time in the morning. Almost, it's just clockwork. I don't even need an alarm clock. I know that at a certain time, I have to get out, I have to get up, I have to, jump in the shower, I have to fix my breakfast. I know at a certain time, I have to be to work. So within that schedule, that first serious time frame that I have to meet, I have to have little schedules in between there. Like I said, that's just part of life, John. You really do. You really need to have it.
And expand upon, if you could, the importance of schedules for our kids, because it's very easy, I mean, to just kind of, have it be like the wild, wild west, and, the kids can just do whatever they want, whenever they want. It's helpful to have that fun dynamic and that playtime where it's like, the kids just have free time kind of thing. But could you expand upon the importance of schedules, especially for our children right now, especially for our wee ones, as they're starting to, really enter into the most important steps of their life?
Yeah, so the importance of a schedule in a child's life is they need to know what to expect. They need to know that at a certain time we're going to do this. And a lot of times, children have, just like we do, we have our favorite parts of the day. I mean, I love what I do, but there are certain things I love a little bit more. So they can ask you like, well, what time is lunch? What time are we going on to the playground? And what we do to help them manage time is we have like a visual schedule. Of course, they might not understand the numbers depending on their age or how much they grasp math. So you got a visual schedule where you have a picture of the playground, you have a picture of lunch, you have a picture of art time. So they know, and then some kind of way you can make some type of indication around it to let them know this is what we're doing right now. So that's something that you can do with the younger kids. With the older kids, obviously, as they get a little older, you can, and their math skills are a little bit more developed. You can start adding the concepts of numbers. At this time, we're doing this. Can you look at the clock? When the clock, the big hand is on this number and the little hand is on that number, that's when we're going to do the next activity. So there's all kinds of ways. Like I said before, the children, they really need to know what to expect. They really do.
One of the final questions that I wanted to ask is that I can only imagine that there's parents that are tuning into the program this week and saying, Curtis, John, I'm having difficulties keeping my little one on point, right? It's a very, very busy time of the year. We're in that sweet spot between back to school and the holiday season where it's like, lots of things to do, and sometimes their kids can get a little bit antsy. Could you share with us maybe, let's say, 2 or 3 activities to help parents keep their little ones on point, on task, to be mindful of time? Because that's important, that we're also doing our part to help children create a respectful, a mindful relationship with time. So let's say, what are 2 or 3 activities for parents to help their little ones stay on point and on task with time, and then for teachers as well too, for their students?
Before, like we all need a schedule. So maybe between the activities, between the moments, you could have some kind of creative activity. You can make up a silly song. You could do little jingles. You could play with numbers. What do you think we should be doing right now? Have them part of that decision making. You could set it up where you could do things out of order. And then maybe they can be like, no, we shouldn't be doing that right now. We should be doing this. So that helps them stay on task. And it's also a lot of math and problem solving. That's sequencing, that's putting things in order. So that's an activity that you can do. Just having I think a visual schedule at home just as important as it is having one at school.
I love those. I love those because I think that, you know, activities, they're meant to be fun, and the best kinds of activities for little ones are ones that are both fun and informative at the same point in time, right? Because, you know, not necessarily everything has to be about reinventing the wheel. We don't necessarily have to make everything super serious for our little ones in the process. This is one of my favorite questions that I always love asking during Children's Book Spotlight Series interviews. What has Captain, at least thus far, what has Captain Curriculum and what has Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time, what has this whole process taught you about yourself and taught you about life?
Well, like I said in the beginning, once I started writing and the characters came to life, it was like, okay, I'm just guiding the pen. So what I've learned is that you have to be intentful. Everything is intentional. You have to do things on purpose. You really have to know the why of what you're doing. So Captain Curriculum has taught me to be on purpose, and that purpose should be a positive purpose. And my purpose, like I said before, is to help teachers and students be successful in the classroom. So Captain Curriculum really showed me what I need to be doing. So it was almost like Captain Curriculum was speaking to me to tell me that I need to be more intentional, more on purpose. I need to take pauses, just like we talked about before, and really problem solve when I really need to, which is all the time. Yeah, I thank Captain Curriculum for really showing me that it takes a lot. It takes the children, it takes the teacher, it takes the parents, or whoever the caregiver is. It takes basically, John, it takes a community to raise the children.
It takes a village, as the expression goes. It takes a village, it really does.
Yes.
We haven't, without spoiling anything, it's safe to say we haven't seen the last of Captain Curriculum and Tracy Transitions just yet. You're working on some great things for 2022. Could you give us a little bit of a sneak peek? You know, now one of the great things that now that movies are back, even some of the big summer blockbusters, now the holiday blockbusters, we always see coming attractions, right? So we want to be able to kind of, you know, pull the curtain back and give a little bit of a sneak peek of coming attractions. What are some of the things that you have planned for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, who feel a connection with you and Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time? What can we expect in 2022 and beyond?
Well, I will be releasing Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time again with a question mark.
Again, question mark.
Yeah, again with a question mark. Does he or does he not save circle time? Just as a cliffhanger.
I love that.
And we also have some activity books based on the story, and we have some plush dolls that will be coming in the works too. And one of my ultimate milestones I want to reach is to actually have Captain Curriculum as a series on TV.
I love that. You're just everything that you're doing for kids. I give you a lot of credit because, you know, being an educator is a job that involves time and energy, even when you're not in the classroom. And one of the things that we've learned through the pandemic is that, you know, we would always hear the phrase essential workers. And we were, different areas across the country were starting to see just how essential teachers and educators are in the process. So the fact that you're doing the work that you're doing for children in that respect, I give you a lot of credit. You are an essential worker, and children's authors are essential workers as well, too, as I like to say. We're very much seeing the importance of getting these books into the hands of not only children, but also, you know, parents and families and educators that can truly benefit them in the process. Again, we encourage you, if you haven't had the opportunities to do so, you can stay connected with Curtis on social media. We have included his social media platforms in the description below so that you can stay connected with Curtis, keep this wonderful conversation going. Post Children's Book Spotlight Series. Again, you can purchase your copy, if you haven't had the opportunities to do so, of Captain Curriculum Save Circle Time on Amazon, if that is your preferred online vehicle of choice. Leave a 5-star review. Again, that's one of the many ways you can pledge your support for Curtis and inspire him to continue to do the great work that he is doing for children, parents, families, educators, and all of those who love great children's books. There's 2 ways that we like to close out our Children's Book Spotlight Series episodes in the process, Curtis. We always like to give a little tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers, of course, the beloved host of the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. When he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmy shortly before he passed from stomach cancer, he did this, and he also did this in different ways on the neighborhood. He did it in a lot of college commencement speeches and talks. He encouraged us to remember those who helped love us into being. And that was his way of remembering those, taking the time to remember those fellow neighbors on our path that helped to remind us that we have skills and gifts and talents, that maybe saw something in us that we didn't necessarily see in ourselves. Who are some of the people that you would like to publicly recognize on episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series that really helped you, Curtis Andrews, that helped love you, Curtis Andrews, into being?
Well, definitely my pastor, my former pastor, I would say. A pastor, he passed a few years back, but now his son he took over. But he was one of those truth sayers in my life that I was talking about. He was at that business seminar, and he looked me square in my eye and told me, Curtis, you're good, but you have to work a little bit harder. And definitely my mom, she has been like a backbone. You know, she's had a journeyful life. And I just see how far she has come, and I can't help but to model after her as well. And of course, you know, my fiance, Charlene, she inspires me to be the best Curtis that I can be every single day. She loves me, she challenges me, she wants me to do better in all areas of my life. And I really need those people like that to really not necessarily agree with everything I do, but to tell me like it is. Because I like people to be a straight shooter to me, with respect, of course.
Absolutely. And we encourage all of you who have joined us on episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, before we officially conclude our time together, to remember those neighbors that helped love you into being. You know, Mr. Rogers, he always kept the time, whether it be 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or a full minute. Take that time, whether it be now or, you know, throughout the course of your week leading into the holidays, to remember those each and every day. Make it a practice, if you feel bad, to do so, to help to remind yourself of those who help love you into being. Also, we also like to give a little tip of the cap to a very special soul in one of the most beloved animated children's movies of all time. We go back to 1992. We remember the Genie of the Lamp. We remember the late Robin Williams in Disney's Aladdin. And I really feel, Curtis, that we are all blessed with the abilities to bring our own heartfelt dreams, desires, and goals to life, to form and to shape. And we have the abilities within us to help our fellow neighbors do the same for them in the process. We have a little segment on the program that we like to call 3 Wishes. It's very interesting because I have a large genie lamp, which is on the other side of my office, and I have a smaller version of the genie lamp. But Curtis, you are being given 3 wishes this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Now, these wishes, they can be for yourself, they can be for the children of the world, they can be for your family, they can be for, realistically, anyone in any way, shape, or form. You have given so much from your heart to children, parents, families, and educators in Virginia, in DC, across the United States, around the world. So you are being given 3 wishes. As I think as the expression goes, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. With the way that the universe is right now, be careful what you ask for, because more than likely you will get it. So what would your 3 wishes be, Curtis?
Okay, the number 1 gift would be for people to realize what their gift in life is. Because I believe that that's the only way that true success and fulfillment come, is knowing your gift and appropriately applying it to make other people successful. And my second, well, I don't want to say wish, I would just say declarations.
Okay.
So my second declaration would be that teachers really understand the position that they're in. There's a famous anonymous saying that goes, teachers are the ones that, let me get it correct. Teachers are the ones that teach other professions. And that really resonates with me, because if you really think about it, that lets you know that the teacher is at the core of every child's success. So it's some kind of way you have helped influence and impact that child in some kind of way. So I just really want teachers, all educators of all life, it doesn't matter, really to understand their position. And my last one would be that Captain Curriculum and Tracy Transitions are known throughout the world, impacting teachers, parents, students, everyone, to help them be successful in what they do. I want to take Captain Curriculum to the world.
Thank you for sharing those wishes. Very much. It's kind of like, and from when we're recording this children's book spotlight series, we're still feeling the energies of the full moon, which helps to amplify our wishes. This has been such a magical trolley stop. Don't you agree? Raise your hand if you have had fun on episode number 131 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight. We see many hands on screen from Curtis and myself, many hands from the little ones on screen as well too. There are many more trolley stops to come, because we are now about to enter into Empowered Publicity's holiday season, one of the most fun and festive times of the year. If you are a children's author and you are interested in sharing your inspiring story and the release of your brand new children's book, if you are looking to become a featured guest, just like Curtis was this week, if you're looking to become a featured guest here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series and become a member of the Empowered Publicity family, we encourage you to head on over to Empowered Publicity's official website, or connect with us via any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen. Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity, Twitter at Empowered_PR. We also want to give 2 tips of the cap. One to one of our favorite neighbors. You remember him and you love him as the beloved Mr. McFeely on the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We've been so blessed this year to spend time with one of our favorite neighbors, David Newell, the man who played Mr. McFeely on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, on all new episodes of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, where we deliver, David and I, heartfelt children's book reviews from our favorite shining stars in the kid-lit community here at Empowered Publicity, which, by the way, is a little sneak peek. You can stay connected with us via empoweredpublicity.com and via our official YouTube channel, and tune in as David and I share a very, very special review of Captain Curriculum Save Circle Time on, I believe it's going to be episode number 9 of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast in the month of November. So if you are a children's author and you would like to be able to have David and I review your brand new children's book on a forthcoming edition of the Neighborly Reviews Bookcast, you can connect with us via our official website, empoweredpublicity.com, or any of our social media platforms as well. And one last tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors here in San Diego, who helps us to be able to connect with children, parents, families, and educators all throughout the beautiful city of San Diego, Laura Kavanaugh, the host and executive producer of San Diego Living on the CW San Diego CBS 8, which is the official home of Empowering Reads for Kids. If you are a children's author and would like to have your brand new children's book be featured on the CW San Diego CBS 8 on Empowering Reads for Kids, where Laura and I, we bring the newest heartfelt children's books to life through one of the largest television stations here in San Diego. If you would like to have your brand new children's book be featured on Empowering Reads for Kids and connect with more children, parents, families, educators throughout San Diego, and have your book be featured on Empowering Reads for Kids, you can connect with us via our official website and, of course, any of our social media platforms on screen. And by visiting empoweredpublicity.com, you can also schedule your own courtesy discovery call if you're interested in more information on how we can be of service to you leading into the holiday season and beyond. One final time, you can head on over to amazon.com, purchase your copy of Captain Curriculum Saves Circle Time. I just love the name of the book. It just rattles off the tip of my tongue. You can stay connected with Curtis via any of his social media platforms as well. We've included those in the description below. And again, this is, needless to say, not the last that you will be hearing of Curtis Andrews or Captain Curriculum and Tracy Transitions as well. And this has been such a magical trolley stop, but we hear the trolley. And as we hear the trolley, that's our little transition. That's our reminder that it is time to go. So we want to thank all of you for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood this week. If these messages that we have shared have inspired you, if they've lifted your spirits, if they've brought more hope and joy into your life, if anything, you can say, Curtis, John, I can now have a healthy relationship with time. My little ones can now adapt to a wonderful schedule that is very healthy and nurturing for them at the same point in time. If you haven't had the opportunities to do so, and if you feel that this message can help especially someone in need, we encourage you to subscribe to Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel and share this very special trolley stop that was episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. And again, as a little tip of the cap to Mr. Rogers, he reminded all of us through his time on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, that you are loved, you are special just the way that you are. He always shared his favorite numbers 143, 1 letter in I, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. It's a little homage, a little tip of the cap to Mr. Rogers. We like to say 243 here on the Children's Book Spotlight series here at Empowered Publicity. There's 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, and 4 letters, 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. As Curtis was kind enough to spend some time with us as our featured guest here on the program this week, this is a reminder to all of you that you are perfect, that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, that you are loved, that you are special just the way that you are. As Curtis had shared, the importance of sharing your gifts and talents with the world is so essential as of this particular point in time as we head into the holidays and beyond. Thank you for your continued support of Empowered Publicity. Thank you very much for your continued support of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Thank you for your support of children's authors and illustrators across the country and around the world who share these wonderful, heartfelt messages with our little ones. Thank you for your support of local libraries and children's and independent bookstores across the country and around the world. But above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. So for Curtis Andrews, for myself, John Masiulionis, again, this has been episode number 131 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We look forward to seeing all of you once again very soon for our next trolley stop, where we'll be kicking off our holiday season here at Empowered Publicity and the Children's Book Spotlight series. But again, thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. Goodbye for now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.